is made. A model of bone is made out of hyaline cartilage at early stages of development. This is when you're still a fetus. By chondroblast. So a model of bone is made at early stages of development via chondroblast. This model of bone is a solid structure. It's not hollow from inside. Okay? At 3 months of development, this is still as in a fetal life. At 3 months of development, the chondroblast start to die. Okay. At 3 months of development, the chondroblasts start to die, and therefore the matrix of the bone degenerates. So basically what happens, a model of bone is made at early developmental stages. Okay? That model of bone is actually cartilage. It's made of hyaline cartilage via chondroblast. Now at 3 months development, these chondroblasts start to die. If they die, basically the matrix dissolves. So now you have a bone. This is still hyaline cartilage, but now it's hollow inside. Okay, right here it was solid, but because the matrix dissolves, now it's hollow inside. Okay? Does everybody understand this much? Okay. I'm going to erase this part, but let's continue. This process in your book is much more detailed than what I'm teaching you. I only expect you to know in depth as I go in lecture. Okay? I actually skip some steps. I just kind of summarize the main picture or the main process. You will know even me summarizing it, you guys will find that this is really complicated or it's really detailed. So if you're reading the book because you like reading the chapter, you will see it might not 100% correlate because I try to simplify the process for you. Okay? So as soon as the matrix dissolves, blood vessels start to infiltrate the hollow bone. Yeah? I know my handwriting's sloppy. I can't keep on picking up the pen too much because it's not aligned properly. This is beyond, like right around 3 months. But from here, you don't need to know exactly. Yeah, I know. So, as soon as the matrix dissolves, okay, as soon as the matrix itself, as we know now, it's hollow inside. Okay, so now something can come there, take over. So blood vessels will start to infiltrate the bone or the matrix. Does that make sense? Okay, the bone is hollow from inside, and therefore blood vessels will start to infiltrate. Yes?
Where's the blood vessels?
Basically, you actually have generation of new blood vessels going on through fibroblasts and everything.
So it's from the inside?
Yeah, from the outside.
Like snaking in type thing?
Yes, because you tend to create new blood vessels, and then the blood vessels, as they start creating, it like branches out and it starts invading the bone. Because the blood vessels are coming from your umbilical vein, umbilical artery. Okay?
What's at the, like, what keeps the blood inside the vessels as it's coming, I mean, what's at the end then?
What do you mean?
Like, is the blood vessel filled, as it's coming out, is it filled with blood, or is it empty until a certain?
It basically starts to form the tissue, but then slowly the blood comes. So there's progression of basically the tissue, the walls of the blood vessels start to go much faster compared to the plasma.
Right.
Does that make sense? Because our body has a capacity to generate new blood vessels. Okay. So basically, as you can see, blood vessels infiltrate the hollow bone. Okay? Now, basically, as soon as the blood vessels arrive, okay, and they bring in the blood, it actually brings in two things into the bone. It brings in osteoblast and minerals. What minerals? Calcium and phosphate. So as soon as infiltration of blood vessels occurred and now those blood vessels are bringing in blood, blood actually brings two components in to this hollow bone area. Basically osteoblast, which are bone-forming cells, and minerals. What minerals? Calcium and phosphate. So now you have osteocytes, osteoblast in here. You also have this calcium phosphate, calcium and phosphate. Okay. And of course, that is due to the blood vessels, which I'm just going to draw it as. Okay. Does that make sense? Yes. So, as soon as the infiltration is complete, and now that structure actually has blood vessels, the blood vessels will bring in osteoblast and minerals. What minerals? Calcium and phosphate. Okay. Can I erase this? Now, the osteoblast produce and secrete two things. So these osteoblasts now that arrive to the site, okay? Basically, they will produce and create or secrete two things into this bone. One is osteoid, which, as you know, is the protein needed to form the matrix. Two is enzymes. Now, a protein. Basically, you have enzymes as well as osteoid. And this same image is there, you just have extra, I don't want to overcrowd the photo, okay? Therefore, imagine all of this is there, plus now you have enzyme and osteoid. Make sense?
What enzymes?
You don't need to know that. Okay? There's actually multiple enzymes, but just no enzymes. The osteoid is basically forms the matrix. But remember, I always told you the matrix is made up of osteoid, which is a protein, as well as the minerals. Okay? But right now, the minerals, the calcium and phosphate, are not put together. Meaning, what is salt? What is the composition of salt? Sodium chloride, right? Now, if I have sodium in one hand and if I have chloride in one hand, do I have salt? No. When do I have salt? When they're both put together, they form a chemical reaction and basically form that crystal, right? Same thing. You have minerals right now. You have calcium and phosphate, but they're not in a chemical compound. They're just two separate elements. Does that make sense? So what these enzymes do, these enzymes that the osteoblasts secreted, basically they take the calcium, they take the phosphate, they combine it, forming calcium phosphate. Does that make sense? And calcium phosphate is basically like a crystal. So now we have calcium phosphate, calcium phosphate, calcium phosphate. Right here, you used to have calcium and then phosphate right here. They're separate. Now you actually have calcium phosphate, which looks like a crystal. This process where these enzymes convert calcium phosphate into one chemical compound and form that crystal, they call ossification. It's called ossification, where the enzymes basically convert, or make a chemical compound out of calcium and phosphate. Now, when did osteoblast turn into osteocyte? When did osteoblast turn into osteocyte?
After it makes its fibers and retreats into that lacunae chamber.
Okay. So for it to go into lacunae chamber, they technically have to become osteocyte and then get embedded. Okay? But the point is, osteoblast, the point where osteoblast turn into osteocyte is where the bone they make matures. Okay? So remember right here we have bone, right? But it's not mature. It's still soft because you don't have this hard matrix. You have calcium and phosphate. And you have osteoid, but it's still soft. It's not mature. As soon as ossification occurs, now the bone has matured. It's hard now because now you have crystal. As you know, crystal is strong, correct? So as soon as ossification has occurred, because you also have the osteoid in here, right? So the matrix is completely formed now. You have the osteoid, you also have calcium and phosphate, which is in a compound, and therefore it's hard. So now, at this point, once ossification has completed, you have mature bone. At this point, osteoblasts turn into osteocyte, and they go embed themselves into a lacunae, and now bone development has completed. Does that make sense? Yes? Now, of course, I did skip steps, but that's the overview idea. Okay? If I go more in detail, you guys will kill me. Okay. Does that make sense?
And they embed where?
They embed themselves within lacunae, structure like, table-like structures. Okay? Now, how would I ask this to you guys in the test? Basically, I could ask you which of the following cells create the monohydrate or I could have this oral process. I could give you, instead of probably there were 5, 6 steps, I don't remember exactly how many there were. But I could, let's say there were 8 steps, I could only give you 6 steps, and then you have to place them in order. Does that make sense? That's how, because we don't have a written exam, so I don't expect you to explain step by step, but you should know it because I could ask you, basically, after which of the following steps does blood vessel infiltrate? What does the blood vessels bring in? Does that make sense? Or arrange all of these steps in order. Now, all of this occurs before fetal life, because when you're born, isn't your bones already formed? Aren't you made with all of the bones in your life? Okay? Yes.
Are there names of the different phases that the bone goes through, or is it just the whole process?
Conical process. Make sense? So now we're done with bone development. This is basically the summary for you guys to know. It's right there. Just in case you guys get lost. Last term I did not record the lectures. Now we're going to talk about bone growth. Now again, please cut this or separate this sheet into, you don't need a long one, just in two different sections. Shorter one. Now this is hard to kind of draw, so I'll only draw one photo and then I'll manually explain it because it's kind of harder to draw anything. You guys have to visualize it. So I'm going to use my hands. Okay. So bone growth is occurring throughout childhood or the rest of it, right? You don't actually have growth going on after you have reached your health size, right? All of you, are you guys growing right now? You should not be, okay? I mean, unless you're still haven't ended puberty, but you should be. As soon as you get puberty, you stop growing. You should not get taller. This is why they say, by the time you finish high school, you have reached your height. Okay. There's two actually types of bone growth. You could go lengthwise, bone could grow lengthwise, or it could grow widthwise, right? Okay. So first we're going to talk about lengthwise, after that we'll talk about widthwise, and this is why I told you to separate the boxes. Okay. So we're going to do lengthwise. So here's a bone. At the junction of the epiphysis and diaphysis, you basically have a growth plate. Growth plate or epiphyseal plate. Now, the growth plate actually contains chondroblast. The growth plate actually contains chondroblast. Okay? What do the growth plate, what does this chondroblast do? They actually tend to produce hyaline cartilage. Okay? You have hyaline cartilage. Now, this, within the bone, you already have osteoblast, OB. Okay? Osteoblast will grab this cartilage that the chondroblast just created, convert it into bone. So now, it's converted into bone. Okay? As soon as the cartilage is converted to bone, what happens? These epiphyseal growth plate is also called epiphyseal growth plate. Okay? The growth plate kind of moves farther apart. Okay? And because it moves farther apart, it does the same thing. It creates cartilage. Okay? It creates cartilage. And that cartilage is once again converted to bone. Does that make sense? Okay? So basically, the bones are like this. Okay? There's an epiphyseal growth plate. As soon as it creates cartilage and it's converted to bone, this epiphyseal growth plate will jump all over. Now again, it will create cartilage. Once that cartilage is converted to bone, it will part. So do you see your bone is getting lengthwise? Now, throughout childhood and adolescence, this process is under the control of growth hormone. Okay? Growth hormone is responsible for bone development or bone growth. Okay? So this is why basically there's a steady, throughout childhood, there's a steady progression of growth. Now when you hit puberty, basically there's an increase. Don't you have a growth spurt? So what happens, puberty, it's no longer growth hormone which controls bone growth, it's actually the sex hormones. It's harder to demonstrate this way, so I'm just going to demonstrate this way, but we're still talking lengthwise, okay? It's harder to do this way. So, you were, throughout childhood, the lengthwise, here are the growth plates. Jumps progressively farther apart. Now you hit puberty. Instead of progressively going farther apart, all of a sudden, it jumps much quicker. And the activity of the chondroblast, osteoblast increases as well. This is why you have growth spurt, okay? Now towards the end of puberty, when you're about to hit close in puberty, what happens, the same sex hormones which caused you to have the growth spurt, that actually causes your growth plate to seal, to stop moving, okay? And so then now the growth plate, it's not moving. And if it's not moving, but its activity has still increased, because it takes time for the activity to come back down, okay? So at puberty, the sex hormones cause the growth plate activity and the movement to increase. At the end of puberty, basically, the movement stops or slows down as it gets closer to the end of puberty, but the activity remains. So what happens, they're stuck right here, but it's creating cartilage on top of cartilage, and bone is being converted. But now you have no more place to, because you're not going this way, there's no more place to deposit it. So imagine you're going to go to basically camping, okay? And you can only take one duffel bag. Basically, girls will understand this more. You tend to fill your duffel bag, and then you look, I still have a lot of stuff. What do? But you can only take that one duffel bag. You start stuffing, right? And if you start stuffing it, doesn't basically it was like this, nice and even, and now you're stuffing it, so doesn't it start to bulge out, right? Basically, that's what happens. So, because the growth plate has stopped moving, but it's still increasing and producing cartilage, which is connected to bone. Now, what happens to bone, the osteoblast, once it creates bone, it starts stuffing it right underneath the periosteum. Okay, so right underneath the periosteum, therefore the periosteum starts to bulge, and that's how you grow widthwise. Does that make sense? Okay. So you grow lengthwise because the growth plate are moving farther apart, creating cartilage, converted to bone. You grow widthwise is because bone is deposited right under the periosteum, and therefore you grow thickness.
Like with gigantism, as it has to be set before the long bone cardinal in acromegaly or whatever. Like flat bones always continue to grow the rest of your life.
Yeah, we will talk about so what happens if you have too much growth hormone after your epiphyseal growth plate closes. You don't get taller, you actually get thicker. Your bones get bigger. Let me ask you, the first time you ever saw Arnold Schwarzenegger or his photo, doesn't he look awkward? Doesn't his facial features look awkward a little bit? The first time you ever saw him. After that, you kind of get used to his face. But why is that? Okay? Why does he have this awkward structure? The reason he was in movies, right? And the thing was he had those muscles in there because growth hormone causes skeletal muscle growth, skeletal system to grow, as well as musculature. So when he was in movies, at that time we didn't know all the pros and cons about taking growth hormone, so he actually took growth hormone. Okay? From the outside. Basically he took growth hormone. So what happened is he already hit his adult size. So instead of growing lengthwise, his bone actually got thicker. His bone grew this way. This is why his hand basically expanded this way. His forehead expanded. This is why his capsize age. His jaw basically expanded this way. That's why he has gaps between his teeth, because you're not gaining more teeth. Does that make sense? This is what people look at, that's acromegaly.
Yeah, that's
Basically, when you have too much growth hormone, it could be due to a disease, or it could be due to getting growth hormone.
So they don't grow in waves until they reach their maximum weight?
I mean, they do because osteoblasts will start depositing this way, but it will start basically putting it under osteon, periosteum as well. But the most thickness occurs towards the end of the periosteum.
So those bones never harden, the flat bones never harden, or they do?
Because when it creates bone, the enzymes are released, the enzyme converts it into calcium phosphate. It does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And can you go back down, like after expanding the width
No.
bone, just stay the top?
That's why some old people, once they pay,
You don't, you tend to reabsorb a little bit of a bone, but your structures come back. Okay. You don't actually, if you stop taking growth hormone, which probably has, doesn't mean that the structures are going to come back to normal. The damage is done. Once he found out, he found that it inhibits further progression of that condition, but it doesn't come back to normal. So this is how you grow lengthwise. So if you have too much growth hormone after puberty, if you have too much growth hormone before your growth plates close, you are gigantic. So you might be 7, 8 feet tall. Okay? Where if you don't have enough growth hormone before your puberty hits, then you're basically good. Okay, these are which you will learn how to happen. Does that make sense? So we're done with bone growth. Okay, again, now this is a summary for you guys. Now let's talk about bone remodeling. Bone remodeling is basically our body is always remodeled throughout our age, even until the day that we die. Now, if I bring in 2 males or 2 females, okay, I'm gonna cover up the face so you can't see their face, you only see their body. They're the same height, same weight, they're very close, okay? Can't you still, just looking at their body, can't you still tell which one is older, which one is younger? Okay, one of them, let's say, is a teenager, another one is in their 30s. Okay, if you can't see the face, so you can't see the maturity of the face, they're the same height, same clothes, same weight, but still, can't you tell which this one is a teenager, this one is adult? Why? How? Okay, what do you mean posture? Because they're one of them might go like this or something?
Yeah, or
No, let's say the posture is the same. Let's say posture is the same.
no, but like, I mean, they can be the same weight, but they could, one can have more body mass, more body fat, muscle, even though they're the same weight. One is thinner.
They can, yes, but what is the thing? It's because of the bone structure. Doesn't the female get their hips, right? A teenager, regardless of the male or female, they're more a stick figure. They have no curvature. But as you get older, you start to get that curvature in your body, right? Yeah, you could be the same weight, you could have the same amount of mass, but just the shape of your bones has changed. Okay? This is what because of bone remodeling. So what happens is, as a teenager, your bones are basically fairly straight. There's no curvature. As you get older, basically, your bones start to curve. You see first the hips are like this, now it starts to form that curvature. This is why adults have curvature. The reason is because of bone remodeling. What happens, areas of bone that receives less stress get broken down. So this part of the bone does not receive that much stress. Therefore, bone is taken away from this area. That's why you see this curvature, okay? Where areas where there is increased stress, okay? Basically, bone gets deposited like there, so that's why you see that additional bone. So this is why it forms a curvature. Bone gets reabsorbed from here, therefore it starts going like this. Bone gets deposited right here, so it goes like that. Okay, does that make sense? Now, what cells do this? What cells do you think would be taking away bone from here? Huh? Osteoclast. Osteoclast. Which bone or which cell would be depositing bone? Osteoclast. Okay. And these two cells are under hormonal control. Okay. A hormone called PTH, parathyroid hormone. Parathyroid hormone. PTH, parathyroid hormone, basically activates osteoclasts. And osteoclasts will break bone down. When it breaks bone, what do you think gets released? The matrix in it. Every time you break bone down, you basically break the matrix down. When you break the matrix, what do you have in your hand? Calcium phosphate, which are minerals, and the osteoid. Osteoid is a protein, it gets the amino acid gets used up to make something else. What happens to calcium phosphate? It goes into the bloodstream. So doesn't your blood calcium levels increase? Blood calcium and phosphate levels increase, right? The hormone that activates osteoclast is calcitonin. Calcitonin will activate osteoblast. Osteoblast will create more bone via forming the matrix. So now for matrix, again, what do you need? You need the osteoid, which the body, that cell will synthesize. But then where does the calcium and phosphate come from? The bloodstream. Where does it get the calcium? The minerals from the bloodstream. Therefore, doesn't the blood calcium and phosphate levels decrease? Yes? Yes or no?
Yes.
So if I basically have a disease where my blood calcium levels always remain low, as in the exam, basically where I said that DiGeorge syndrome, blood calcium levels always remain low. Which hormone do you think is secreted to basically increase your blood calcium levels back to normal? PTH. Because PTH will activate the osteoclast, which will break bone down, therefore the calcium and phosphate gets dumped into bloodstream. Calcium comes back up. Does that make sense? If you have too much calcium in your bloodstream, maybe you are really health conscious, taking the vitamins and some multivitamins plus the calcium chips plus the calcium tablets. You have too much calcium in your body, in your bloodstream. Okay? Then you have to get rid of that calcium from your bloodstream. So what does calcitonin gets released? It will activate osteoblast. Osteoblast will grab that extra calcium from the bloodstream. Phosphate form, make sense? I mean, there's other stuff that has happened, not only this, that because you know, but this is just a step. Summary. Make sense? So here's a summary. Here's a summary. Okay, now we're going to talk about the skeleton. Now this part of the chapter goes much easier. I think yesterday I finished within 30 minutes because there's no memorization, not that much explanation. So you will see I go much faster. Okay? Good. So now we're going to talk about the skeleton. Skeleton is split into two main categories: axial skeleton and appendicular skeleton. Axial skeleton makes your midline. Okay? Meaning your skull, your basically, so your skull, your vertebrate column, your ribs, and your sternum. So your basically skull, vertebrate column from the back, your sternum, and your ribs. Isn't that right in the middle? So it forms your midline. Yeah? Appendicular skeleton is everything that attaches to the axial skeleton. So your limbs attach to your axial skeleton. Your pelvic region attaches to your axial skeleton. Okay? So appendicular skeleton is made up of pectoral girdle, pelvic girdle, and your limbs. Okay? So you have two main skeleton is split into two main categories: axial, appendicular. Under each of them, you have different ones that form the axial skeleton, which form the appendicular skeleton. Make sense? Yes? Yes. I know you guys are getting tired. Okay, I can see that in you guys' face. Just hang in there about 40 minutes, and then I'll let you guys work as a group on your case scenarios. Let's talk about the skull. Okay? Now, the skull skull basically protects the brain and forms facial bones or facial structure. The skull is split up into two categories of bones. You have cranial bones, which make up your cranium. You have facial bones, which make up your face. So your cranial bones make up your cranium. You have your facial bones, which make up your face. The cranial bone encloses and protects the brain, because that's where you find the brain. Facial bones basically encompass the front of your skull. Which bones are classified as cranial bones? Frontal, parietal, temporal, sphenoid, occipital. Okay? Which one make up the facial bones? Maxilla, palatine, zygomatic, nasal, mandible. I mean, there are more, but some of them you will only see it when you have the skull. But I just listed the main ones and allowed you to be responsible to know more. So right here you have a photo. The blue ones are basically facial bones, and the red ones are actually cranial bones. Okay? So you have the frontal right here, two parietal, two temporal, two occipital, and you also have sphenoid right there. Okay? Then you have the facial bones. The nasal bone, the cheekbone is a zygomatic, maxilla is the upper jaw, mandible is the lower jaw. Okay? So some of the bones. For lecture exam, this is all I want you to collab with. Now, the cranial foci is split up into three main categories, or split up into three main sections. Anterior cranial fossa, middle cranial fossa, posterior cranial fossa. Now just read the stuff that's written on the slide. Because it's just verbalization. I'm already starting to lose you, so I'm going to skip the stuff that is just repetition. Okay. A little bit more about the skull. Within the skull, you find actually something called sinuses. Okay? Sinuses are air-filled spaces. Okay? It's a vacuum, basically it's air. What is the function of these sinuses? One thing, to make your skull a little bit lighter. The second thing is to give you a specific tone and resonance to your voice. This is how everybody sounds different. Now these sinuses are lined by mucus secreting cells. Okay? Have you ever been where you're woken up and you tilt your head and it feels heavy and you start getting a headache? That's because these sinuses are basically inflamed. You have a condition called sinusitis. So as I was saying, the sinuses are lined by mucus secreting cells. So they produce mucus, but the mucus doesn't stay there. The mucus is released, it kind of binds the particles, and then it's drained because the sinuses are connected to the nose. And these are small, thin passages. So what happens is when you have sinusitis, the tissue gets inflamed. If it gets inflamed, it clogs the passageways. Therefore, the mucus gets trapped inside the sinuses, and this is why your head now feels heavier. Okay? Now, these are the sinuses you have. So you have two frontal, okay? You have two maxillary, you have two ethmoidal, and you have two sphenoid. Okay? So frontal, right here. Okay? Maxillary is right here. Then you have ethmoidal by your nose, and then your sphenoid on this side. Okay? Does that make sense? So these are, so on half of the page you have 4, so you have 8 total. Different. So frontal, ethmoidal, which goes aroundwards, sphenoid right underneath it, and then maxillary. Now let's talk about the vertebrae column. Function of vertebrae column. Support your head, protect your spinal cord, attaches for side cord limbs to attach. Between each vertebrae, you have a intervertebral disc. Now, the vertebrae column has different sections. The neck region, okay, which is right here, is called cervical vertebrae. There are 7 cervical vertebrae which make up your neck. Next section is thoracic, which is your upper back. You have 12 thoracic vertebrae. Then you have lower back is lumbar region, which is made up of 5 lumbar vertebrae. Then you have basically a structure called the sacrum, which is made up of, which is like the pelvic part, it's regular. The sacrum is actually made up of 3 to 5 sacral vertebrae, which all fuse together forming one structure. Does that make sense? So this is sacrum, but it's actually 3 to 5 sacral vertebrae fused together forming one structure called the sacrum. Then you have this tail bone, which is called the coccyx, and it's again made up of 2 to 3 coccygeal vertebrae all fused together, making one structure. Like tail bone. Okay?
Can I just have a question?
Yes.
When you're born, the bones change how many bones you have in your body. It's the skull, right? Is it the skull that has all the extra bones? Is it fused together after birth? Or?
So you're born with all of them, but they're not sometimes attached. So the suturing occurs. This is why a child has that soft spot, because they haven't sewed together. But you're born with all of the bones.
No, I'm saying like, isn't there considered like more like a bit more bones in your body than your own? Like,
Some will say yes, some will say no. It depends on the book, depends on the position. Okay, you have to know basically your upper back is made up of which vertebrae and how many vertebrae does that section contain. So there are 12 thoracic and 5 lumbar. You have to know that number. The easy way to remember is a mnemonic. Basically, it goes in this order: cervical, thoracic, lumbar, sacral, coccygeal. Okay? 7, 12, 5, 1, and 1. So you have breakfast at 7, lunch at 12, dinner at 5, 1 midnight snack, and then a sleep. Okay? So it helps you memorize the numbers. Breakfast at 7, lunch at 12, dinner at 5, 1 midnight snack, and then a sleep. Okay? So it kind of correlates with all, because you only have a midnight snack is the sacrum, and a sleeping pill is the sleep. Okay? Make sense?
It's weird.
Okay. Now let's talk about the intervertebral disc. Intervertebral disc is found in between the vertebrae. So remember, vertebrae right here, you have this vertebrae. Between there, you have this intervertebral disc. Intervertebral disc has 2 components. It has an outer part, which is a top fibrocartilage, which we already discussed. But this inner part, the blue part, is a soft gelatin center. Okay? So that is the structure of the intervertebral disc. Top outer portion, which is made up of fibrocartilage, a soft gelatin center inside, it's like gelatin. Flat, less compressible disc, 2 vertebrae, soft gelatin center with outer layer of fibrocartilage. Protect the vertebrae. Basically, if you're shocked while you jump and walk, and if you injure it, you damage your spinal cord. Have you ever heard about hernia? Not hernia, herniated disc. Herniated disc. Herniated disc is basically the soft gelatin center breaks through, and now it's kind of pushing on the spinal cord. This is why you start feeling pain, really there. So if you basically have, I actually had a friend in medical school. She was I think 21 or something, and she had a herniated disc in the cervical region. Okay, and she had pain throughout her whole body. It's this high up. Of course, the neurologist doesn't want to do the surgery because it's just, to a doctor, that uncomfortable pain is not that serious compared to other complications that can arise. So to her, she's like, I'm in severe pain. She's like, why can't the doctor agree to surgery? But he wouldn't, because she was able to function properly. It's just she had constant pain. So you have to take, because it's so close to, it's this high. If one mistake happens, she can okay. Yeah, she just had to wear school. Yeah, she didn't, of course, because she was only like 21 or something. But at home, she always wear neck brace. She always just years. I mean, I don't know now if something happened. I'm not in touch with her anymore because I studied in Europe, so she was one of them. I lost contact. Okay, so this is just herniated disc. Is basically you remove that disc and put artificial. Now, rib cage, thoracic cage. The thoracic cage is made up of 4 different structures. Anteriorly, it's made up by the sternum. And the sternum is split up into three sections, deliberative, body, and the cerebral process. From the sides, okay, it's made up of the ribs and it's coastal cartilage. Excuse me. From the back, which you can see, it's made up by the vertebrate column, and from the top, it's made up by these clavicles. Oh, collagen, sorry. Okay. Now let's talk about the ribs a little bit more in detail. You have true ribs, false ribs, and you have floating ribs. Floating ribs are number 11 and 12, and the reason is because they're not attached to the sternum. They're just coming off the column. Basically, different books will use different numbers, but I want you to memorize by the numbers I tell you. Basically, ribs 1 through 6 are true ribs. 7 through 10 are false ribs. Why? Can you tell why they're called true ribs and false ribs? So the true ones have their own costal cartilage, which allows them to connect directly to the sternum. The false ribs, all of them share the costal cartilage and attach. Okay? Some books will classify the seventh one because it kind of has its own as a true rib. Some of them will still say this is a sharing, so it depends on the book. For me, I just like, so everything's consistent throughout all of the anatomy students for me for lecture portion. Basically, 1 through 6 true, 7 to 10 false, 11 to 12 are floating. Rib cage houses the heart and the lungs. Okay, pectoral girdle basically, it's basically upper limb. So pectoral girdle lends flexibility to the upper limb. So we have 2 scapulas on each side, which makes up your shoulder blade, 2 clavicles, which make up your collarbone, then your upper limb, and I'm only talking about one arm. Okay? So humerus, there's only one humerus, and therefore it makes up your upper arm. One ulna, one radius, which makes up your forearm. Carpals, there are 8 small bones, which make up your wrist. Metacarpals, there are 5 bones, which make up your palm. Phalanges, which are 14, which makes up your 5 fingers. Because each section there are actually 3 different fingers. And your thumb only has 2 fingers. Okay, pelvic girdle. Pelvic girdle supports upper body weight against gravity and protects pelvic organs. You have 2 coxal bones, which are your hip bones. You will have 1 sacrum and 1 coccyx, which is part of your vertebrae column. Now your lower limb, again, I'm going to just talk about 1 leg. 1 femur, which makes up your thigh. A tibia and a fibula, which basically 1 of each, and it makes up your leg. Patella, there's only 1 patella, which makes up your kneecap. There's 7 tarsal bones, which make up your ankle and the heel. There are 5 metatarsals, which make up your foot, and there's 14 phalanges, which make up your toes. You guys already know all of this, I'm just going on with that. Now let's quickly, I think joints is the last section, and then we're done, so I think we'll take another 15 minutes. Joints, ligaments, and tendons. Basically, joints, ligaments, and tendons hold the skeleton together by allowing movement to occur. Joints are articulation. This is where 2 bones are connected, facing each other, and there's movement. Ligaments, it's a connective tissue which connects 2 bones together, holds 2 bones in place. Tendons, connective tissue, but it's found between muscle and bone. Okay? I mean, it connects the muscle and bone. You have 3 types of joints, meaning composition. Fibrous joint, cartilaginous joint, and synovial joint. Okay? Fibrous joint is basically a kid where you have the suture going on. Okay, the suture is very flexible still. It's not this suture is not fibrous joint. It's found kind of in the kid because it's not completely sealed yet. Cartilaginous joint is basically made up of hyaline cartilage. Its functions are connects bones, slightly movable, decreases friction. Okay, as you know, it decreases friction because it's found in the epithesis. It connects bones. The ribs are connected to sternum via the costal cartilage, which is hyaline cartilage. Okay, and they're slightly movable. Examples where you find cartilaginous joints, end of epithesis, connection of vertebrae in the backbone, and then connects the lower ribs to the sternum. Now, synovial joint, which we're going to draw. together. Now you have synovial membrane. So green is a synovial membrane. This one. Now, this is collectively called the joint capsule. Okay? So the blue are the ligaments that connect the two bones, hold them in place. Red is the bone, green is the synovial membrane. The black is the hyaline cartilage found at the end of the pieces, correct? Okay. Now the synovial membrane, what it does, it secretes synovial fluid. And the synovial fluid is located within the synovial cavity. Okay, so the fluid is found, it's secreted, and it goes between the two epiphyses. Gets secreted and it gets located between the two epiphyses. So, synovial membrane secretes synovial fluid, which is found within the synovial cavity. It's there for lubrication. Okay? So the fluid is there for lubrication. If you decrease your synovial fluid, basically you start getting arthritis. If you have too much, it causes swelling and pain. Okay? Make sense? So this is synovial joint. Right here, basically summary of it. Here's a photo of it that you guys already have. Now, the last section we talk about, so fibrous, cartilaginous, and synovial are kind of composition, kind of what joint is. Now what we're going to talk about is the function. Different joints function in a different way, how they interact with that bone. Okay? So you have 5 different types. You have gliding joint. Basically, this is how the gliding joint, the image shows you exactly how it moves against that bone, how the two bones move in relation to each other. Okay? So gliding joint, basically they're moving against each other. And this is a location where you find a gliding joint. So make sure you know where it's found and which direction they move in the name. So make sure you know these slides. Hinge joint. Basically, this is how hinge joint. It's kind of like the hinge one is moving like that. It's found in elbow and knee. Pivot joint, basically it's moving in a circular fashion. It's found like atlas and axis move in that fashion. Atlas and axis are C1 and C2 vertebrae. C1 and C2. So the first two cervical vertebrae are called atlas and axis. They can move against each other in a pivot joint. Ellipsoid joint, basically you find that in your metacarpals. Basically, again, it's embedded and it moves. Then you have the saddle joint, which basically is like this. Then the ball and socket, which we always hear about in shortness. Now we have finished the skeletal system. Again, there will be 30 questions. I'm going to give you guys a case scenario. Now, the case scenario, you guys can leave at 11:30, but under 11:20 because we end up at 12. We end at 12, right? So you guys can leave at like 11:20, but until then I have to do the other, my superiors as well. So basically for this time, I actually, for the critical thinking, I have 2 case scenarios. Okay? You're going to be working on the case scenarios right now. I can give you a completely brand new case scenario, or do you want to start working on it again? So, you could use your computers. I have a paper handout too that I can pass out to you, or if you want to use your computers. You can work with each other. But if you're gonna write it, if you're gonna submit that, you won't need to submit your own. You can take a photo of that and submit it in, call it, by Dropbox, or you can write the answers right now, type it up, and then send it, whichever you want, okay? But each of you need to submit your own copy. No, it's not due until Sunday, you guys can just get started. Okay? And if you need help, I'm here to help.
What are we doing, Chris? Thank you, guys. Just like basic change your terms. You same terms, right?
Yeah, it's in my box, let me go get it from my box. Now, today there is, I'm not gonna collect these papers. How do I know your participation? Because while you guys are working, I'm gonna be walking around helping, so I know who's working, who's not, okay? Before you leave, there's a sign-out sheet. Okay, so make sure you sign out, because if you don't sign out, it's gonna tell me you left early, and you're not gonna get the participation. Does that make sense? I'm gonna go grab the sheets from my box. Okay?
See, that's how I feel. For reals?